Today I want to share with you an amazing collection of images that shows how ancient figures would look like today. Leonardo da Vinci. Beloved painter and inventor, Leonardo da Vinci goes down in history as being a true Renaissance man. Many of the paintings he left behind are still some of the most popular pieces of art today. There was a portrait done of Leonardo by an artist named Cristofano dell'Altissimo. And the image you see above is called Portrait of a Man in Red Chalk. Many historians believe that this was a self-portrait that would have been sketched when Leonardo was about 60 years old. However, it's not universally accepted that this was actually him. But the AI depiction of this man looks very friendly, and fits with the image many imagine him to be. Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of Rome, and he was also the author of a book called Meditations about Stoic philosophy. He was one of the 5 good emperors who kept peace and stability in Rome during the time of his reign. There are multiple statues of Marcus Aurelius both as a young man and adult. His face was also featured on Roman coins during the time of his reign. Considering that there are plenty of resources out there, this AI depiction seems like an accurate representation of what he would look like today. Saint Joseph. This is a depiction of Saint Joseph, the legal father of Jesus Christ. Of course, if you believe in the stories from the Bible, the Virgin Mary was impregnated by God rather than Joseph. But Jesus still needed a father figure to grow up with. Joseph is considered to be the patron saint of workers. Looking at the painting that was used for the AI rendering, it's likely that Joseph did not actually have light skin and blue eyes. It's more likely that he had darker features. Henry VIII. King Henry VIII of England ruled from 1509 until his death in 1547. He's most known for breaking away from the Catholic Church in order to divorce his first wife. And he famously went on to get married a total of 6 times. He also kept many mistresses on the side. Unfortunately for these women, several of them were executed or died during childbirth. At one point in his life, Henry became so obese that he couldn't walk anymore. Lucifer. According to the Bible, Lucifer, also known as the devil, was once a beautiful angel in heaven. But his downfall was that he tried to be as powerful as God. As punishment, he was condemned to hell. Because of this, popular culture typically shows Lucifer as being quite attractive since he used to be an angel. The statue featured in this image is called Le Génie du Mal, or the Spirit of Evil. It was created in 1848 by the Belgian artist Guillaume Geefs. Just 1 year earlier, in 1847, there was a famous painting called The Fallen Angel by Alexander Cabanel. Both of these artistic depictions of Lucifer look similar, and they both even include him shedding a single tear. Sandro Botticelli. During his lifetime, Sandro Botticelli was one of the most famous artists in Italy. He is known for painting scenes from mythology, as well as the Bible. Some of his most esteemed works were The Birth of Venus, Primavera, and Mars and Venus. He painted his self-portrait, so we have a good idea of what he looked like. Botticelli said that he dreaded the idea of marriage. Many historians speculate that he was secretly homosexual, and some speculate homoerotic undertones in some of his paintings. Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton was a famous English physicist and mathematician. Some of his accomplishments were his 3 laws of motion, the basic principles of modern physics, and the formulation of the law of gravitation. He was also the original discoverer of the infinitesimal calculus. There are many portraits of Isaac Newton out there, so we have a pretty good idea of what he looked like during his lifetime. The depiction of what he might look like today seems to be very accurate. George Washington. As the first president of the United States, there are plenty of portraits of George Washington. He is also featured on dollars and coins. One detail that most artists have left out of his portraits is the fact that he would have had pockmarks all over his face left over from the time he had smallpox at 19 years old. Usually, the paintings depict him as having perfectly smooth skin. On the Mount Vernon website, they have information about all of his portraits, as well as notes from his diaries about his experience with each of the artists. The image of what George Washington would have looked like today makes him very distinguished, enjoying a glass of wine. Joan of Arc. Born in the 1400s, Joan of Arc was a young French peasant woman who heard voices in her head. She believed the voice was coming from God, who told her to help Prince Charles of Valois defeat the English invaders and see him crowned as the new King of France. After chopping off her hair and dressing in men's clothing, teenage Joan traveled to meet the prince. Somehow, she convinced him that the messages from God were true, and he allowed her to lead the army to victory. Later, though, the English captured her and burned her at the stake for witchcraft when she was just 19 years old. In 1920, the Catholic Church canonized her as a saint. William Shakespeare. Playwright William Shakespeare is considered to be one of the greatest writers of all time. There is a saying that goes, after the Bible and Shakespeare, there are no original stories. Born in 1564, Shakespeare spent his life in the theater as both a writer and actor. He published 38 plays, 2 narrative poems, 154 sonnets, and a variety of poems. If you live in an English-speaking country, chances are that you had to study one or more of his plays in school. Looking at this modern-day version of Shakespeare, he truly does look like he would fit into any crowd today. Queen Nefertiti. This stunningly beautiful woman is Queen Nefertiti. Her name translates to "a beautiful woman has come," which fits her gorgeous features. She ruled together with her husband King Akhenaten in the 14th century BCE. During their reign, they pushed for their people to praise the sun god Aten. It was considered to be one of the most wealthy times in all of ancient Egypt. There is a rumor that after her husband died, Queen Nefertiti continued on to rule as pharaoh, but it has never been 100% confirmed. This famous bust of Queen Nefertiti that you see above now exists in the Neues Museum in Berlin, Germany. Queen Nefertiti. This stunningly beautiful woman is Queen Nefertiti. Her name translates to "a beautiful woman has come," which fits her gorgeous features. She ruled together with her husband King Akhenaten in the 14th century BCE. During their reign, they pushed for their people to praise the sun god Aten. It was considered to be one of the most wealthy times in all of ancient Egypt. There is a rumor that after her husband died, Queen Nefertiti continued on to rule as pharaoh, but it has never been 100% confirmed. This famous bust of Queen Nefertiti that you see above now exists in the Neues Museum in Berlin, Germany. Zeus. Yet another mythical figure on this list is the god Zeus. He is considered to be the chief deity and father of all the gods and humans. According to legend, he controlled the weather and used a thunderbolt as a weapon. Of course, Zeus was never a real person. But this statue is one of many artistic depictions of what he may have looked like. The AI version on the right is actually a depiction of the model who posed for the statue, rather than the god himself. But if you saw him walking around today, he might look rather godlike anyway.